What is up? Welcome back to Code Hustle, where you and I will learn code together. No. How's everybody doing this evening? I'm actually just perusing over this little chat buddy over here, Cody. I like to call him Cody, but for some reason, he is like, I don't know. He's like random working. Like, let's see. I put this custom command in there. Let's see if he works now. I don't know. Maybe it's better when it's live or something. I don't know. I tried to do this when I was in, what is it? Demo or preview, right? And even in there, it's sketchy. Now, I don't know if that's because, Helio, what's up? I didn't build it. Kappa man, Kappa man. They built it. It's cool. You can just pick out your own. You can just pick out your own little caricature in the marketplace here. Most of them, well, a lot of them are cost these coins and stuff, but then there's plenty of free ones as well. And I snagged a free one. It's on like page 3, I think, right here. And you can do different colors. Pretty cool. And all you do is basically add it as a source, a browser source, as they say, to your. Oh, see, then we just waved at you. I just noticed. I think he just said, "Hi, I'm Helio. How are you?" But it's like he's like a little flaky. I don't know what the deal is. You're supposed so it has these commands here, right? These are the ones that are built in: greet, sub, resub, all those. But then you can do custom ones, and the custom ones they do say to put the little bang in front of it like that. It is enabled, and it's supposed to return back. It's supposed to return back a message. So like if we look at it, I think you have to edit to see it, but so I just like put a message in it. My name is Cody. We're learning JavaScript Basics today. You know, something simple. And this is the command. But for some reason, it does not seem to be working. And I did follow their, they had their recommended right here. You know, if you add your own custom commands in your command page, the default auto greet will already be, there's a command for you to edit. Note that each time you edit your commands, you need to refresh the browser source cache for the changes to be applied. I did that twice, 3 times actually. And for some reason, it doesn't seem to be, now I don't know if that's something that's, well, I mean, it says it works with Streamlabs and all that jazz, so I'm not really sure what's going on here. But I was trying to get it working so that like that's the command name. He should prompt something right now. Like he should say, "Hi, my name's Cody. We're learning JavaScript Basics today." But he's not. Come on, buddy. So I'm not really sure what's up with that. I don't know why that is not. Do I dare try to do the refresh of the cache while I am... Oh, alright, if I get cut off, I'll restart in 2 seconds. What am I looking for here? Because they say if you do this, refresh cache of current page. Oh, alright, I'm gonna do it. Let's see what happens. Make a little blip, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I think that worked. Doesn't really give you an indication. Sweet! We're gonna dig right in here in a minute. I'm just to JavaScript Basics. We started going down that road the other day, and I am on it now, so that's why I missed the streams. Hey, no worries, man. The best thing for you to way you learn is to do it yourself, right? So I don't. Hey, stop in whenever you can. That's great. But oh, there. See, look, my name's Cody. Did you see that? You saw that, right? How delayed was that? That was like a million years later. He's promising, but we'll see what happens. I don't know. He that was quite. Here, you try it. Put a bang Cody in the chat and see if it'll respond to you. Not sure why it's not doing it for me. Or it did, I guess. I was immensely late. And the other thing I was wondering too is, like, I wonder if it has a problem because I'm using two different things too, because I have like stream elements here, right? And I'm using that. I'm also using this little copy. I think you should be able to. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to do both. This one seems to work pretty good. I grabbed some of these just random chats here, and let's see if this works. Bam! What's up? See, isn't that's fun? Now when you throw in some emotes, they bounce around the screen. Isn't that awesome? It's something. It's better than nothing. We're working on it. Now, the thing that was cool about this, but I don't think you can probably use it, is they do have this options here, so because you can do like bang song, and the little chat bot's supposed to tell you what the song is, and this has a Spotify Connect, but I'm pretty sure DMCA issues will slam me on that, right? All right, so let's get down to business since we're not. Oh, and I uploaded the first. Just FYI, I uploaded my first, basically my first full-length video on YouTube. I figured, why not, right? We'll get it going. We'll start it out. It's a little rough around the edges, but hey, whatever. You got to start somewhere, right? All right, cool. So this is where we ended up. Let's see. What were we? Where did I put that? Over here. Okay, cool. So this is where we ended up. We had stopped on learning about. I am slowly building up the courage to start my channel. Do it, dude. I'm afraid every single day. I swear. Thanks. I appreciate that, Ron. Yeah, somebody said, you can just record like your Twitch. And I was like, oh, yeah, I guess you could, huh? And they were just like, you should just do that. And then upload it to YouTube. And they're like, because especially if you're doing anything that has any kind of instructional value or or anything like that, they're like, at least then it'll be up there for people to go and check, or even for yourself. A lot of content creators recycle content across channels. Yeah. A lot of them use. Well, now the weird thing is there's actually a capability built into, right? Because you limited, right? Even with a Prime account or whatever on Twitch, right? 60 days, I think, is the max, right, for the videos. And so someone was like, well, if you just want to make sure that you keep archive of that and you have them for and stuff, and again for other people to be able to go and check them out more long term. And come back and all. Anyway, so they were like, you should do that. And I was like, all right, I'll start doing that. I was a little curious at how much space. I was like, if my hard drive fills up in the middle of this, I apologize. It worked out all right. It was like almost 5 gigabytes for like 3 hours and something minutes of recording. Probably could tweak up the settings for the recording and whatnot, but right now, I mean, it seemed okay. It uploaded in it took about 15 minutes, really, 12 minutes to upload, about 4.5 gigs to YouTube, so that wasn't bad. And then just had to wait for them to do their whole processing of it to standard definition, whatever that is. Just kidding. I think I might know what that is a little bit. Anyway, so yesterday, to just kind of recap, we talked about variables. You know, we introduced let and const and discussed how var is, even though still available, is pretty much the variable of the past and not really being utilized as much anymore, or if at all for that matter. But we learned that let variables can, let or const, right? Variables, you can assign anything to them. You can assign objects, arrays, strings, booleans, numerics, objects, functions, whatever you want to do, right? And then the other thing that we learned is that let is a mutable type variable, where that means that you can change it even though once you set it or declared it with a value, you can then change it later on. Whereas a const is a immutable object or immutable variable that will you cannot change. It's hence its word, right? Or hence its definition, constant. It's constantly this, don't change me. And it wants to be the same. Me, I'm more of a let. I like to change, you know, I like to grow and whatever. Const, they're a little stubborn, you know, they like to hang on to their thing. They don't want to be different, you know, don't change me. Whatever, I guess we can allow it. But so cool stuff, you know, we learned some good things about variables. That, you know, let and const came out in ES6, which is like a million years ago nowadays. So anyway, yeah, we basically discussed that. We touched a little bit into a little bit of describing what a array was and what an object was. We won't go back into that today because it really just brushed the surface, just to kind of get your feet wet a little bit with that. But what we landed on next here in the MDN is basic math and JavaScript, numbers and operators. So this is important, you know, although I personally have not used a lot of math in my development. But again, I think that has a lot to do with whatever you may be working on, right? But again, I guess back to my core kind of thing of what I like to tell everybody is don't get hung up on specifics like syntax and all those kinds of things. Just remember that it can do it. So this is one of those moments where you go, oh, hey, JavaScript can do math. Just remember that. That's all you need to know. This way, when something comes along and you're like, hey, I need to do some mathematical equations in here, or whatever, you're like, hey, JavaScript can do that. Along with many other languages. Most programming languages have the capability to do math and have built-in, math functions to help you, as well as operators. Don't tell your kids at school that they can open up the dev tools and use math inside there, because then they'll cheat on all their tests. Or maybe you should. But anyway, my sinister side. Cheat all you can, children. Doesn't that just mean you're smarter? Right? Hey, I'll tell you what, if I was a math teacher and a kid was popping dev tools open to do math to get the answers, I'd be like, keep on going, brother. You're good. Keep on going, Lisa. Get it. Know what I'm saying? Right. And the cool thing is you could do it really, you could just be, you know, what? What console? Oh, let me get back over there. Let me write some math. Oh, hey, teach, just doing the test. What do you mean? Yeah, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Anyway, not encouraging cheating. Anywho. Okay, so cool. So everybody loves math. Except for me. No, I actually used to hate math. I hated it when I was in high school and in school, everything else. Right? They're not teaching you anything in school anyway. Not to be a downer, right? But our education system is shite in the United States. Hasn't been overhauled in 100 years. It's totally designed for industrial age workers. learn basic mathematics, learn basic English and whatnot, and here you go, right to the factory line. Yeah, we're not really pumping out factory workers anymore, so maybe it's time we start stepping it up. And it's pretty sad that majority or a huge percentage of schools in the United States do not teach any form of STEM or programming for that matter. Many are starting to get on board. There are things and efforts to push that. Code.org is a great organization. If you haven't heard of it, go check it out. You can volunteer your time, and all the time actually, but there's specifically one part of the year during Computer Science Week that they do an hour of code is the name of and they try to get millions of kids across the world to participate in the hour of code. They have a bunch of really cool starter practice things to get into coding, the concepts. They do a lot of the block dragging type things, although they do get into, if you want to go a little more advanced, they have like Python and JavaScript available there, and they do cool little things like Minecraft and Frozen and they make all these cool Lego, whatever. They have a bunch of different little labs that make it a lot of fun for kids. You can volunteer your time. You just basically go on the website, say you're a volunteer. You can tell them, I'm experienced, I'm not experienced. It's really just looking for people that are encouraging, that want to be a part of it, that are into that whole movement. And but if you have some experience and you put your stuff in there, and then typically what happens is a teacher from your local area will reach out to you via email through through code.org. So they're not just directly hitting you, but they'll reach out to you and they'll say, hey, looking for a mentor to come in for a few hours on this day, or they'll say, can you come in the whole week or whatever. They'll, you work with them. They basically tell you what they're looking for, and yeah, you can go down and show up at the school and start teaching some stuff. It's really cool. I did it a couple years. It was pretty fun. It feels good, right? You're giving back. I mean, it was cool working with kids. They got excited about it. There was a couple kids that like by the next day, they had gone home and they're like, yeah, we built this little tool. Like they built, no kidding, these two kids built like a little mini web app that was like, what was it that I'm trying to remember what the thing was. It was something to do with their school. It was like this way of, I forgot exactly what the details were, but it was almost like this update of like what's going on in the school, like for like sports and event or whatever, but it was on a mobile app, so it was a lot more efficient. It was super cool. Anyway, what's up, HC in the house? Did my little Cody guy wave at you and say hi, HC Webs? He's supposed to be working. I don't know. We were talking. Me and Rogelio were talking, and it seems to be that he's acting a little finicky. So we'll see. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yeah, he lived a long, good life though. HC, 92 years old, almost 93, and retired and fished for longer than I've been alive. So he did what he loved. He went out. He went out on top. It was only really last year that he stopped fishing and really the one thing is his brain was there. He still had his wits about him and everything else. It's just the shock started breaking down and whatever. So that's kind of what happens. But obviously it's always a little sad when you have somebody that you love leave you. But I gotta say, when it comes to like that kind of situation, I just feel like a little bit, more. I don't know the word I'm looking for, but it's not as shocking or like whatever than it is if it's really unexpected, right? So the fact that he lived a long, great life and had a really good life and was surrounded by people that he loved in the end, I mean, really can't ask for anything more other than, fall asleep and don't wake up. And it's pretty much what happened with him. So we were there with him to the end. So it was great. I'm glad that we were able to be there with him, and appreciate all of your comments, HC. I really do appreciate it. And I had some other people drop some messages in Twitter too, which is really great. The community is awesome. They're always there to support and give you some love. So I do appreciate that. And so yeah, so we're into everybody loves math. Lies. No, I'm just kidding. I used to hate math in school, and I wish I didn't, because now as an adult, I just see the massive power and use of it is just so I still don't understand it any better than I did back then, but I definitely have a much higher respect for it. Again, back to what we were saying is just know that JavaScript can do math. So let's just dig in a little bit on this. It looks like they're just going to kind of go over some of the types of numbers. So in programming, even though the humble decimal number system that we all know so well is more complicated than you might think, we use different terms to describe different types of decimal numbers. For example, integers are whole numbers, right? We've heard that. Floating point numbers, floats. You'll hear this in quite a bit, actually, in development. Have decimal points and decimal places, for example, right? Doubles are a specific type of floating point number that have greater precision than standard floating point numbers. Don't get hung up on memorizing this. I don't know. I mean, these are probably the two that I, have probably talked about the most. And hexadecimal, you talk more about that in CSS. They even talk about it there. Binary, octal. I mean, good to know. Good to know what it is and whatnot, but you're not going to be writing any binary code in JavaScript, so. You can kind of, again, good to know that it exists, good to have a little bit of understanding about it, but, not critical to you being a web developer. So, let's see. Before you get worried about your brain melting, stop right there. It says, just stop right there. For a start, we're just going to stick to decimal numbers throughout this course. I kind of had a feeling. You rarely come across the need for any other types. That's true. Second bit of news is that unlike some of the other programming languages, JavaScript only has one data type for numbers, both integers and decimals. You guessed it, number. This means that whatever type of numbers you're dealing with JavaScript, you handle them in exactly the same way. Well, that's good to know, right? I don't need to worry about any other stuff. Sweet. They're giving you a little note here that says there is actually another type, a second number type called BigInt. I've never used it before in my life, so. Again, I think if you're working with a bunch of there is obviously cases where this is, people would be using this all the time. You might not be using JavaScript to do it though. If you're doing a bunch of heavy duty mathematical stuff, I gotta assume there's a much better language like Python or something to do that. I know they use a lot of Python for financials, and like stock market algorithms and all kinds of. I wish I could remember that documentary. There was this really cool documentary talking about how they used Python to basically find like the fractions of seconds to like bid on things. It was just, and like they were complaining that, oh, they're cheating, and it's like, no, we're just smarter than you. We're using better programming languages to shave time off to figure out what we need to put our money where and what and all that. And so they didn't break the law. They weren't doing anything wrong. They just had good technology. So, okay, so it's all numbers to me. So let's quickly play with some numbers to reacquaint ourselves with the basic syntax we need. Enter the commands listed below and the developer tools in your browser. So we did this yesterday. We'll talk really quick. Usually in your menu, in Firefox, it's up here under Web Developer, and in Chrome, it's under just Developer Tools. You also can just right-click in the page and do Inspect Element on any one of these, doesn't matter. Or you can F12, and that'll also bring it up. That's pretty much across all browsers. The only thing that'll be different is where it is in the menu. But right-click, Inspect Element, F12, all browsers, modern, use that to get to the dev tools. So Inspect Elements right there, we'll just use that. Oh, I guess I had this open in a separate window. Isn't that fun? Let's see here. Let's bring it back. How are we going to do that? Is that going to let me do that? Probably not. Let's see here. Get that out of full screen. This was interesting yesterday, though. This actually did overlay okay on this because it was that's weird. It's not going to let me do it now. Being a punk. All right, give me a sec. Let me get this adjusted here. I wish you could just do but you can't. All right, let's see here. Apologies, I gotta get a Windows situated. Where did my other window go now? This one. There we go. Get in there. All right. Yeah, we don't even need VS Code right now. We can just use this. Why not? Oh, does this thing have dark mode? I need dark mode in here. This is killing me. Come on, you gotta have a dark. Yes, thank you. Bam. Oh, I love you. Is it just me, or is dark mode just the best thing ever? We want to. I don't know. We don't want to. It isn't a separate window. Cool. Thanks. Where's the close? Like, there we go. That'll work. Cool. All right. Now we got. All right. Give me the console. There we go. All right. We're back in business. This is another reason why I said too that I love JavaScript, because you can just do all this in the browser. Don't even need an IDE. You don't need that. What do you need that for? All right, cool. So what do they want us to do? They want us to mess around with some stuff. So we're going to use our handy dandy variables that we learned yesterday, right? So we're going to do let my int equal 5, not -5. All right. So what does it say? Let's declare a couple of variables and initialize them with an integer and a float, respectively. Then type the variable names back in to check that everything is in order. Okay. So we'll take our let my int equal 5. Now the question is, do they want us to do this as? Sometimes I'm curious if they want you to enter it, or they want you to do like shift enter and do it like this, and then at the end, what is it, 667? 667 is what they want, right? So I'm just gonna, oh, that's my H, that's not gonna work. Float, my float. No, how do I keep doing that? My float, there we go. Sweet. All right, so we got 2 variables declared, one with an integer, one with a float. All what? Numbers, as we have found out. Type, right? Number type. All right, so we will enter that, right? And now if you say like my float, which is hinting right there, right? Ooh, I didn't camel case that one. That's all right. No worries. That's great, right? Doesn't matter. You are allowed to name your variables whatever you want. Doesn't have to be camel cased. It's just a convention that a lot of people use. So you don't have to, but you can. So there you go. My float is 6.67, right? And then my, what is it, int? That one's 5, right? We're just showing. Okay, so number values are typed in without quotation marks, of course, right? Because what would it be if it was in quotation marks? A string. It'll be a string. So try declaring and initializing a couple more variables containing numbers before you move on. Okay. Why? Why do they have to do a few more? Try declaring and initializing a couple more. Why do I have to do a couple more? Shh. He's so demanding. Now let's check that both our original variables are the same data type. There is an operator called type of. We learned this yesterday. So type of is a way to check the type of, or the type that your variable is, right? And as you can see, type of my float is number. My int is also number, right? A good thing to have on hand, just in case you need to do a little test or check to make sure that your variable is of a certain type. You may need that. It's handy. You should get number, return in both cases, as we did. We saw this makes things a lot easier for us than if different numbers had different data types and we had to deal with them in different ways. Whew. I like how they add the phew in there, because it's that crazy. So useful number methods. This is where it's going to get a little funner, right? Is that even? Yeah, we use that word all the time now. So what happened here? Stinking me up. It's spinning, so it's just losing music. Apologies. Just want to check. have a little something in the background, you know. All right, so they are going to introduce some methods here. So that's what I was mentioning earlier, that JavaScript math functions or methods exist, and they help you out. They help you do stuff. And we're going to find out a little bit about right now. So the number object, an instance of which represents all standard numbers you'll use in your JavaScript, has a number of useful methods available on it for you to manipulate numbers. We don't cover these in detail in this article because we wanted to keep it a simple introduction and only cover the real basic essentials for now. Hence JavaScript Basics with CodeHustle, right? All right, here we go. And only cover the real basic essentials for now. However, once you have read through this module a couple of times, it is worth going back object reference pages and learn more about what's available. Very true. Again, don't get hung up on specifics, right? You just know that it has math, and it has these special little methods that exist that can make you, manipulate or do things for you with math. It's very easy to go and just do a quick Google search and say, how do I generate a random number of JavaScript? And then you will get back a plethora of articles, Stack Overflows, code pens, whatever, that will give you many examples of how to do that. So again, big thing, just remember that it exists. That's what's important. You can always go look up all the specifics. So in this case here, for example, to round your number to a fixed number of decimal places, use the to fixed. That sounds fun, right? Use the to fixed. Oh, what is going on with this music? Never came back. Really? You're about to lose my $5, monster cat. Trying it out for the month. We'll see. Anybody have any other better, music platforms that I could leverage that I won't get slammed with copyright infringement? And I'd be happy to check it out. I think there's another one. What was it called? Pretzel or something? I heard somebody had that up today. Don't really know what that is, but could be promising. So what they're having us do here is add some. I like their variable names, right? Lots of decimal. It's nice. It would help if I spelled correctly. Decimal, right? And then we're gonna assign this crazy 1.766. I should have just copied this 8, 4. I don't think it really matters, right? I'm just gonna go ahead and finish it out like that. And then what are they doing? Let 2 decimal places. Okay, we're declaring another variable here. I cannot, for some reason, get that to type right. For some places equals, and now. So what we're doing here, right, is we're taking, right, we declared a variable called lots of decimal, right? We gave it a value of a floating point number, right, or a decimal, number. And so once we have that declared, then we're actually creating a new variable called 2 decimal places, right? That's what we're typing here in the console. And what we're making that equal to, or a value that we're assigning to that, is the first variable that we just created, right? The lots of decimal, which is this number, right? This 1.7666, blah, 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 right? That's the number. So when you see lots of decimal right there before the to fix, just think about it that that's the number, right? So you're saying take that number, and then you're chaining it with this to fixed method, which is a built-in JavaScript math method, right? Again, don't get too hung up on memorizing it. Just know that you have the capability to work with math in JavaScript, and there's these little methods that exist that will help you along. So we're basically taking this and turning it into a fixed number, right? And so when you hit enter, let's see, now if I do 2, we take a peek at this, 2 decimal places, right? You see the value we're getting back? Although this is interesting here, I just noticed this. Do you see that came out as a string? That's interesting. we'll read down and see what if it says anything about it. But I just noticed that anyway. So, but the point is that you can see that what it did by using this method of to fixed, right? It's saying to move it 2 places over from the decimal point and return that value. So it's cutting off all the, and it's rounding up the value to 7. So right, 1.77 is what it gives us. That's cool. I might mess up on some of my descriptions too because I'm not a math person. So feel free to jump in if you are a math wizard and I mistakenly don't describe something 100% correctly, because that is highly possible. So converting to number data type. So sometimes you might end up with a number that is stored as a string type, which is what just happened, it looks like. Because let's try this, right? We had our type of, we found out, right? That was one of our built-in things that, built-in methods in JavaScript, or I guess, it's a function in JavaScript that allows you to check the type of that variable, right? And if you see, we weren't wrong. It did put it out as a string, which is interesting. I'm kind of curious. I don't remember exactly why that would be, but we'll figure it out. So it says sometimes you might end up with a number that is stored as a string, which makes it difficult to perform calculations with it. I would think so, because it doesn't know. Doesn't see that 1 or that 7. It just sees it as a string. So this most commonly happens when data is entered into a form input and then the input type is text. There's always there's a way to solve this problem: passing the string value into the number constructor and return a number version of the same value. Wow. That sounded fancy. All right, so let's play along with their little thing here. So they have, let's declare a new variable, my number, but this time they're actually setting it as a string, right? Which is, so they're doing this on purpose so you can see how to use the number method. So we declare my number, we give it a value of 74, a string value of 74. And then what they want you to do after that is they want you to take that same variable, right, which is right now equal to 74 as a string. And if we do +3, we're going to add to it. You see what happens there, right? Since it's not a number at this point, it just adds that 3 to the variable my number, which was a string, and it just sees it as the string still, and so it just concatenates it together. We learned that in the beginning course a little bit about what concatenation is, right? So that's what's occurring here, not the result that we want. That's not what we want to happen. So you end up with, right, 743, not 77, which is what we would have expected. Although we did know, because we saw that it was in quotes right here, and we're smart, and we knew that that meant it was a string. So we kind of expected something to get messed up, didn't we? Anywho, so because I keep saying so a lot, I need to work on that. Because my number is actually defined as a string, you can test this by typing. Yes, we did that, but we'll play along with you. Type of, right, my number tells you it's a string. So to fix this calculation, it says you can do this. So we can use the number method that exists in JavaScript. It even tells you it's a function right there, right? And then we give it its parens, and then now instead we're gonna just pass in the my number variable, and which is cool. You can already see, as I already started typing, what it's outputting there on the second line, which is kind of neat. I like that, right? In the console, you don't even have to hit enter. It just kind of starts hinting to you what the result's gonna be. So we are passing in the variable my number into the number method or function, right? And then because we want to add 3 to it, or not 4, but 3, now we get the result that we expected, 77, because now number method is taking that and saying this is a number, treat it like a number, and then you can calculate properly. What this is too is a little just touching, because we haven't gotten to functions yet, but my number in this case that's being passed into this number method is what's called a parameter or an argument. The my number variable that's inside this method would be a parameter. You might hear param, like people, or argument. You do hear different back and forth. Just know that you can pass values or information into your functions by placing it inside the parentheses. And as we go along further and get into functions, you'll find out that you can add more than just one. You also can add different types. You can pass objects, all kinds of things. So that's just where we're at right now. Why does this keep stopping? That's really annoying. Anyway, all right. Arithmetic operators. We touched on these a little bit in the first one as well. Basic math junk, right? Plus, minus, splat or star or asterisk for multiplication, / for division. The percent, now this is one we haven't seen. This is a remainder. So this returns a remainder left over after you divided the left number into a number integer portions equal to the right number. So you remember this in school, right? You did whatever, divided into this, remainder 2, whatever, left over. This is what this will give you. So it shows you here 8 with 8 percent 3 returns 2 as 3 goes into 8 twice, right? Leaving 2 left over. So that's what it returns to you. In fact, we can go right here and do 8 and show the percent, right? 3. Bam. Deuces. So cool, right? Good. Just again, just remember that it's got math capability. That's what's important. You don't have to memorize it. I actually don't think I've ever used this before in my entire life. The exponent one raises a base number to the exponent power that is the base number multiplied by itself. It was first introduced in ECMAScript 2016, which would be because ES6, which is not even really the right name for it anymore. It was actually ECMAScript 2015, if I'm not mistaken. All right, cool. So we got some math. We're doing some maths now. We're getting smart. You know what I mean? It's good stuff here, man. So we probably don't need to teach you how to do basic math, or maybe they do, probably do for me. But we would like to test your understanding of syntax involved. So try entering the examples below into your developer tools and familiarize yourself with the syntax. First, try entering some simple examples of your own, such as, okay, bam, bam, bam. Yeah, you can also try declaring and initializing some numbers inside variables and try using those in the sums. The variables will behave exactly like the values they hold for purposes of the sum. That's confusing as shit, isn't it? Basically what it is they're just having you kind of mess around here with the different ways that you can do mathematical equations. You know, you can use a number times a variable, which is just a number, right? It's just 9 times 10. Right? Or 9 multiplied by 10, or whatever you want to, whatever verbiage you like to use, right? Num2 divided by num1, it's just literally 50 divided by 10. Simple stuff, right? Last for this section, try entering some more complex expressions such as this. So now they're doing the, right, getting a little fancier. I'm not going to really dig into that. I don't think it's crazy important at this point to, again, I think the biggest thing to take away from this is that just want to see kind of where they go with it a little bit here. This is important. Yeah, that's important stuff there. So you'll use these a lot more than any of the other stuff, I think. So let's get back to where was I reading? Operator precedence. Again, just like math, right? This is the same thing. You know, when you put something inside of parentheses, right? Is that what it is? It equates that first, and then it uses that value, and then it continues on, right? So let's see. Let's look at let's see if I'm correct on that. Again, I'm not a math guy. as a human being, you may read this as 50 plus 10 equals 60, and then 8 plus 2 equals 10, and then finally 60 divided by 10 equals 6. But the browser does 10 divided by 8, what? Equals 1.25, and then this is confusing as stuff right here. So 50 plus 1.25 plus 2 equals 53. What? I'm not even going to concern. I'm going to keep reading on. This is because of operator precedence. Some operators are applied before others when calculating the result. Operator precedence in JavaScript is the same as it is taught in math class. That's what I mentioned. So multiply and divide are always done first, then add and subtract. The calculation is always evaluated from left to right. If you want to override operator precedence, you can put parentheses around the parts that you want to explicitly deal with first. That's what I said, right? Put it in parens, calculates that first, and then it'll use that value and move on down the line to the right. I remembered a little something from school. Look at that. Look at that. All right, anyway, try it and see. Nah, let's not. Let's not try and see. I don't care about you anymore, math. Let's move on. That's not true. I love you, math. You're fine. It's just my lack of understanding. I think we get the idea, right? We don't need to get crazy into that. I mean, it's important to know. Again, good to know it's there. Good to know that these little helper methods exist to get you through it. But let's progress. So sometimes you'll want to repeatedly add or subtract. This is heavily done inside of loops. We saw this actually earlier on when we did a for loop and we're adding to it. So let's see here. This can be conveniently done by using the increment operator or the decrement operator. We use plus plus in our guess number game, right? We saw that to guess from was 0 to 20. So when we added 1 to our guess count variable to keep track of how many guesses the user has left after each turn. Yeah, this is what it looked like. Guess, boom. So basically it just adds 1 to that every time it hits it. Even says right here, I think I just said this, right? These are most commonly used in loops. Yes, they are. So let's try playing with these in our console. Okay, that's fun. Let's play. I want to play. Come on. Come on. Clear, 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 clear. Oh my goodness. You know what I found yesterday? This is easier. Stop typing. Just go like that. Bam. Nice. Okay. So 3 plus plus. That says error. Why? Doesn't like it. Yeah, it does. What does it say? Why? This will return an error. Syntax error. Invalid increment decrement operand. Fine, be like that. So you can only increment an existing variable. There you go. Now we know why that error is, right? So we're declaring a new variable called number1 or num1 equal to 4. And now, if you want to increment this one by 1, I guess, you can do that. Why did that not go up 1? Okay, strangeness number 2. When you did this, you'll see a value of 4 returned. This is because the browser returns the current value, then increments the variable. You can see that it's been incremented if you return the variable value again. Okay, that's interesting. Cool. Okay, good to know too, right? Because that you could get hung on that. I don't have a lot of examples to tell you about on this one, to be honest with you, because again, I've really only done this a lot in loops, and you just kind of like, I don't know, I guess we take it for granted that it's so easy, that you do, you know, for I equals like 0, right? And you can say I less than 10, I plus plus, right? And why is that? Oh, because if you got to spell it correctly, it's helpful. Console, not soul, but soul. right? So just take it for granted, right? But here's that same increment, right? I plus plus. So it adds 1 every single time to I, as long as I is less than 10. So when it starts and it goes in here once and goes, what's I? 0. Boom. Okay, add to it. Okay. Come here, what's I now? I is that. Add 1 to it. Okay, now it's 1. Okay, keeps going. Eventually, it gets to the end and says, you're less than 10. Yep. Okay, now it's over 10. It stops, right? And then it just breaks out of the for loop and escapes it. So you're good. And again, we learned that. Oh no, sorry, that was something else. But yeah, so that's where you'll see this most commonly. They even reference that here. The same is true with the decrement, right? So you can do that in. So we can do this. Let num2 equal. Oh, did that? No, that's funny. My eyes just looked when I looked over there right now. It looked like that looked like a minus sign next to the 6. So we can do let num2 equal 6, right? And then we can say num2 like that, right? And then if we output num2 again, we'll see that it's decremented by 1, right? And so on and so forth if you continue to. Right, let's see. What else they're going to tell us? What are they going to give us some little notes and tips here? So you can make the browser do it the other way around, increment, decrement the variable, then return the value by putting the operand or the operator at the start of the variable instead of the end. So try the above examples again. This time do plus plus num and minus minus num. All right, well, it's we should still be able to actually, because these should still be in existence in here, right? So num1 is still there. So if I did num1, but they're saying do plus plus like that in the front, right? And now if I output, right? Okay, it's still 6. So it did push it up 1, right? And so then they're saying if I go minus num1 like that, or 2, 4. Yeah. Okay. Yep. There you go. So just 2 different ways to do the increment and decrement operator. So assignment operators, why does that keep happening? I don't know why this bothers me so much, but it really bothers me that this music just keeps pausing. Let's explore the catalog view. Let's go to something. Pick a genre. Anybody have a genre they'd like? This is what I have available to me. I'm trying to not get DMCA'd. So anybody got a preference? This is what they mainly listen to, this is mainly electronic type music. But this was my first attempt at finding something to play without getting in trouble. So again, if you got something better, let me know. Be happy to maybe check it out and switch to a different service. I've did this one for a month so far. $5, no big deal. I figured to give it a go. But if you got any preferences on genre types here, we have a whole list of drum and bass, drum step, dubstep, electronic, electro, glitch hop, hard dance, house. I've never heard of half of these. Look at this one. Moombahton. What is that? I don't know. Let's see. Let's see what it sounds like. This is what I hate too. Why is this double up? Like, why is it? Let it go. Let it go. Taking it. Let it go. How many let it goes do we need? Oh, and this is only, yeah, there's a lot of duplicates. Like 40 for you. Bollywood stunner. Too much singing. Can't deal with that. Anybody put anything? Nope. Okay, I was just checking to see if we're going back over to JavaScript. Hold on one second. I just got to get something in the background going because I just like to have a little something in my ears. I just don't know what would be a great one to pick. Maybe chill out. Chill out might be all right. Let's go to is there 1 through 49? Oh, okay. Let's do that. Can you do random? Let's shuffle, right? All right. We'll let that one play in the background there. Okay, cool. I just got to, I had to have a little distraction in my ears. Otherwise, it feels really quiet. Super quiet, man. All right. See? Oh, let me test now. It's been a long time. Let's see if this has cached itself a bunch. Say something, you little Cody dude. I have this chatbot over there that's supposed to do stuff and talk, but he's being stubborn. It took like 700 years for him to come back and say something. Cody, come on, Cody. That's his name. I named him Cody. He seems cool, but he's not being very friendly right now. All right, moving on. Assignment operators are operators that assign a value to a variable. We have already used which one? A bunch. Equal, right? So loads of times it simply assigns a variable on the left, the value stated on the right. So like this, let x is on the left equal right, let 3 is on the right, so value on the right, variable on the left. And then this is showing you how you can actually take one variable you declared and another variable declared and actually use them within each other and say x now equals y. So they're just kind of showing you how you can kind of play around with these. But there are some complex types which provide useful shortcuts to keep your code neater and more efficient. I like neat and efficient. That's always good. So let's see here. Let's see. All right, so they're showing a table here of, we got like 4 operators. Plus, equal, addition, assignment. Adds the value on the right to the variable value on the left, then returns the new variable value. So for example, they're using these, well, let's see if we can kind of, so they're saying, oh, I see what they, okay. So they're showing you here, like this is the long way to do it. X equals x plus 4, right? Which that should make sense. X is 3, right? So it would be 3. So it's 3 plus 4, right? Will be 7. So the x now is 7. But you can do it like this. So let's try this. Let's do let x equal to 3, right? We'll enter that one in. We'll do let y equal to, what was it, 4, right? And then it's saying like, so you can do x plus equals 4, which should give us 7, right? Beautiful. And that's just a shortcut, like we said, for x. Although now that's going to be different because x is now 7. But that would be the same as doing x equals x plus 4, but it's just a shortcut way of doing it. So that's really cool. You can do the same thing with subtraction, right? So you can, instead of using x equals x minus 3, we can just say x minus, or x minus equal, oh gosh darn, x minus equal. That's always a weird one. I haven't used this one hardly ever, but you can use the plus equals quite a bit. I've used that quite often. So there you go. X minus equals 3 becomes 4 because it was 7, right? And so on and so forth. So the same thing with the multiplication assignment and the division one. Same thing. Just shorthanded way to be able to run those mathematical equations. We did try typing some. We did. Okay, so let's get into some active learning. Let's size a canvas. All right, Word, I'm down. Let's do it. Oh, do you get to do this right in here? Oh, I like that. I can type in there. Nice. All right, so okay, I was reading their little thing here. It says, press escape to move focus away from the code area. All right, so what are we doing here? In this exercise, you will manipulate some numbers and operators to change the size of a box. Okay, cool. The box is drawn using a browser API. We talked about browser APIs in the first concepts of JavaScript. The browser has a bunch of APIs built into it that you can use. One of them happens to be the Canvas API. So if you like to draw stuff, this is where you want to go. Canvas API is pretty cool. I have not used it extensively. I typically build more business applications previously, so drawing is not always the most. Sometimes in graphs and stuff, using graphing libraries, some of them leverage Canvas. So there's no need to worry about how this works. Just concentrate on the math for now. So the width and height of the box are defined by the variables x and y, which are initially both given a value of 50. Cool. All right. So they're showing here, right? Let x equal 50. Is that real? That's really small, huh? How's that? Better? All right. So let x equal 50 and let y equal 50. Now this may look different to you. They're declaring the variables on the same line. Completely legal in JavaScript. You could literally mush this all together and it still would be okay. You could go let actually I don't you could do this though. Let x equals 50 so you can do stuff like that. It's still gonna be wait oh, because I redeclared it already. Ignore that. That's me because I already declared x in the browser here. That's why it messed up. But yeah, you can JavaScript does not care. You can write it all on one line. It doesn't have to be on separate lines. There's little handy shortcuts you can do too. I don't see this as much anymore, but you used to see this quite a bit where you declare a variable and something like this, you might do it. You might say like, let x equal, let's say, let's x equal 5, right? And instead of ending it, you can say comma, right? And I'm just going to put on the next line. And will tab work in here? It does. Okay. So you can do let x equal 5, y equal 6. Let's see, what would it be a good x, y, z, let's say, for the z axis. I'm just giving these random, and then end it like that. And that actually still, that's declaring each one of those. Let x, let y, let z, except you're not writing let on each. You're not creating a separate statement for each one. You can actually do that. Again, I keep using the same variable name. I apologize because that makes it look like I'm lying to you about what this does. Let v b and let's do x or something, or t. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Just to show you that. Okay, so now those are all in there. So now if I say v, right, it's 5. If I say b, it's 6. If I show t, it's 8. So it's just a little shortcut to show you. You don't have to write let equal, let whatever g equal whatever on one line, and then go to the next line, do let equal whatever. You don't have to. It's just a little shorthanded shortcut there. Kind of cool. Although again, I don't see that as much anymore. You used to see that with var a lot, and maybe there is some new guidance on the way that they want you to handle that. But it is perfectly legal to do so. I guess if you just don't want to type so much. So we have a rectangle 50 by 50, right? What do they want us to do? They haven't said anything. So the width and height of, yeah, okay, I saw that. I mean, they just want us to mess with it or anything. So open it anyway. It says in the editable code box above, there are 2 lines marked with a comment that we'd like you to update. Oh, edit the 2 lines below here only. Okay. To make the box grow, shrink to certain sizes using certain operators and or values in each case. Let's try the following. Sweet. Oh, they actually they want us to break this into separate windows, huh? Or it has the capability to. Or does it not? Okay, but then you took away my other window. I'm like, but then where did my instructional video, window go? They took it from me. Interesting. All right, so anyway, so change the line that calculates X. So the box is still 50 pixels wide. But the 50 is calculated using the numbers 43 and 7 and an arithmetic operator. What am I missing there? Change the line that calculates X. So this is X equals 50, which is weird. Why are they... Oh, I see. Okay. Josh, what's up? X equals 43 plus 7. Yeah. Change the line, calculate X, so the box is still 50 pixels wide, but the 50 is calculated using numbers 43 and 7. Yeah. All right. I mean, that just seems simple. What are you going to do? All right. So we got that. Right? Now X is going to equal 50, right? Change the line that calculates Y, so the box is 75 high, but the 75 is calculated using the numbers 25 and 3. And an arithmetic operator. Wouldn't that be, though? This is where my shitty math comes in. They're saying to do what? 25 times 3? Whatever. Yeah, right. 25 times 3, right? That's what I thought. And then change. Is this even changing this thing up here? Okay, it is. Change the line that calculates X. So the box is 250 pixels wide, but the 250 is calculated using two numbers and the remainder operator. Oh, come on. You're going to make me do math with this crap? I mean, I know they want us to do that percent for remainder. So the box is 250 wide. And the remainder operator. This one's got me a little confused because I really suck at math really bad. I wasn't kidding. I really hard. Well, that should give you hope, right? You can still get paid really well and have a living doing coding and not know shit about math. That's me. I'm literally like looking at that and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you want me to do. Because I just don't do math. I don't do it. I never learned it. So this is confusing. I know they want me to do the whole something using that as the remainder operator, right? But I don't know what number that's going to get me 250. Change the line that calculates Y, so the box is 150 high. Yeah. And this one says 150 is calculated using three numbers and the subtraction and division operators. This is too much math for me to be messing with. You guys can all laugh and make fun of me, I don't care. Math loser in the chat, it's all good. Yeah, right, don't worry if you totally mess the code up. Yep, you can always press the reset button. Yep, you sure can. But I also just don't want to do math, so I'm just not gonna. My choice. I get to do what I want. That sounded so selfish. I know you guys are really itching to get into the math of this, right? Yeah. Again, this also just goes to show you, like, I don't use math ever, I never use math in coding. Never. Like, except for Like simple, simple, simple. Like add this times, add this plus this, or whatever. I never, ever, ever do any type of heavy calculations or anything like that. So to me, I just, yep, I plus plus, baby. That's all I need in my for loop. I'm good. But anyhow, this is also the problem of doing like things like this on the fly, right? Because I could have like made myself look super smart and like go and like figure this out beforehand so that when I got here I could be like, well, you just got to do this and this and this. But now that would not be being honest with you, right? Because maybe there's other shitty math people out there just like me, right? And they are looking at that and go, I don't know what. All I know is that percent thing does the remainder. I don't really want to think in my head about how to fucking come up with 250. I don't really care. You know what I'm saying? If I want a box to be 250 by, I'm just going to give it. I'm not going to do all that. I want this sucker to be 250. 250, sucker. There you go. That's what I want it to be. 250 by 250. Hey, look at that. Magic. I don't need to mathematically figure that shit out. I know you're going to throw a bunch of use cases into the thing and say, but if you had this, you might want to do that. And I'm like, that's probably true. And that's why I wouldn't be the guy to do it. Or no, I would take the time to figure it out, but I don't want to take the time now to figure out that part. So anyway, all right, where are we at? Comparison operators. All right, sometimes we will want to run true-false tests. We looked at this yesterday. Strict equality, right? This is important when you're trying to look at things like, is 5 equal to 5? That should not be equal, right? All right, HC, me and you, we're making, that's what we're gonna make. We're gonna make a sticker, right? Because I always say this thing. Maybe it shouldn't be that. Well, we'll come up. But basically, the idea would be, like I always say, I was like, I can program you a calculator, but I can't tell you how to do any of the mathematical, equations and all that stuff in there. Because it's true, when you write the calculator, like if you ever did one of those, you don't really do any math per se. I mean, you have to equate like the, if you're going to use a multiplication, this and that, but you are not actually figuring math out. The only reason my math scores were decent in high school was I created programs on my graphing calculator, all the formulas like, nice, sweet. I hear you. So back to this real quick, like the strict equality one. This is super important because look at here. We have a number 5 and a string 5. And if you just use equal, you don't use the strict equality operator, that's going to be a problem if you're actually trying to figure out if that's a number or not. So what you want to use is the triple equals, right, to give you a proper evaluation of what those, if that number is equal to that string 5, which is not. So very important to know that one. That one's used all the time. Use it all the time. So these are just a few more here. We have the less than, the greater than. We saw these earlier in the for loop. Pretty self-explanatory, I believe. And it's just saying, let's see here. If you try entering some of the values in console, you'll see that all return true, false values. These are booleans. We mentioned, right? True, false, or booleans. We did learn that. All right, let's get through this math crap so we can go on to something good. All right, so we'll look at how to code such logic when we look at conditional statements in future articles. For now, let's take a quick example. All right, let's do it. Start machine button. What do we got here? The machine is stopped. So we have some HTML up here, right? We have a button, and we have a paragraph tag, and then our first const variable, because button's not going to change. It's still going to always be button. So that's why this is a const, and same with the text, with the paragraph tag. And so we are declaring a button variable, and we're using the browser API to leverage selecting those DOM elements within the page DOM, the document object model, hence document, right? So in the document, we're going to query for a selector called button, or we're going to select the button tag on the page. And then we're going to declare another variable called text, and we're going to do the same thing, but at this time we're going to grab the paragraph tag. All right, now we have reference to both of those, so we can do stuff with them. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take that button and we're going to add an event listener to it, right? We talked about event listeners, right? It's how we attach something to an object that allows us to then react based on events that occur on it. In this case, it's a click event, right? So every time you click it, in this case, it's going to do the update button function and run whatever's inside of it. So right now, button, add event listener, it's going to listen for a click, and then it's going to run this function, update button. In the function update button, the first thing it's going to do is it's going to do an evaluation, right? It's going to say if. So it's saying if the button's text content, this is also a built-in method for JavaScript that's going to tell you what the text content is within inside of the button, right? So it's saying if the button's text content is start machine, then take that button and change its text content to stop machine, right? And then it wants to take the text, which is this p tag, and add the machine has started to it. So right now we have a button down here, right? It says start machine, and paragraph tag says the machine is stopped. And so what's going to happen is right now, when we click this, it's going to hit this update button. It's going to say, is the button text content start machine? In this case, it's what? It is, right? It's going to be true, right? The if statements return true or false when you do the evaluations, right? So if the button's text content equal to start machine, which it is, then it's true. We're going to fall into this if block, right? And in this if block, we're saying once if that's true, then go ahead and do these things. So we're going to replace the text content of the button, and we're going to replace the text content of the paragraph tag. So if we click this, we should see this change and this change. And then you see that we did. We have now stop machine as the value for the button, and we have the machine has started as the paragraph value, right? So now the other thing is, because it's right, we have a little bit more here in this else. And so right now, if I was to click this again, it's going to come back in here, right? It's going to see this update. It's going to run this update button. It's going to say, hey, if the button text content is start machine, looks here, says what? Wait, that doesn't say start machine. That says stop machine. So it's going to say, screeching halt right here, right? And it's going to drop down into the next if statement that exists, which could be another if and an evaluation, or it could just be the default fallout right here, which is the else. And in fact, not just as just a little syntax thing. You can actually leave this else off of here and just with this bracket and this bracket, and just put this directly after the if, and this will be the default fall through if it doesn't evaluate. But if you want to keep everything real structured and scoped, then no problem. Use the else as well. Sometimes that's just preference of the way you like to write your if statements. But so right now, when you click on this again, it's going to come in here. It's going to evaluate this. Go no, not start machine. So it's going to fall to the else, and then it's going to change the text content back to start machine, and the original value of the machine is stopped. So let's try it out. Give it a click. And exactly what we thought, right? Start machine is then changed, and then the paragraph tag is now changed to the machine is stopped. What? Whew. That took a minute. All right, so we talked about this. You can see the equality operator being used just inside the update button function. In this case, we are not testing if two mathematical expressions have the same value. We were testing whether the text content of a button contains a certain string. But is this still the same, right? Same type of thing. You do an evaluation. We explain this. I don't need to say that again. Yes, this is. I was actually going to use this word, so they actually did. So this such a control that swaps between two states, like on/off, if you want to say, is called a toggle. You will actually see UI elements called toggle buttons or toggle switches, right? When you see that little thing that slides back and forth on settings a lot of times, right? That's a toggle. So basically anything that toggles between two states or thing that changes between two states, they consider that a toggle. I'm not going to test my math skills because I really don't want to. And all we need to know is that JavaScript can do math. You're mainly going to use the pretty basic mathematical operators that exist in regular math. You probably won't get too crazy into doing any heavy duty calculations unless you're working on something that has a lot of math in it. Financial stuff, heavy duty data, analytics, if you're trying to, spit out all kinds of numbers for statistical stuff. That's why people that usually do that kind of programming are math people. All right, what do they got us doing next? We learned about some math. Let's handle some text. Handling text. Strings. Strings. We use strings all the time. They're very powerful. All right, so let's see, where are we at? Next, we'll turn our attention to strings, I guess. How's everybody doing out there? All right, hanging in there, chilling like a villain. Right, strings. This is what pieces of text are called in programming. Yes, they are. Prerequisite? Yeah, we're not worried about that. We're good. We're good. We know what you need. Power of words. All right, let's scroll down to the basics here. True. Just basically stating that, a lot of the stuff we've done already involves manipulating strings. That's true. So strings are dealt with similarly to numbers at first glance, but when you dig deeper, you start to see some notable differences. Let's start by entering some basic lines into the browser developer console. All right. So I'm not gonna go ahead and take this. I'm gonna go ahead and let's put that in there. Okay. So now string, right, is assign that value. The revolution will not be televised. All right, so just like we did with numbers, we are declaring a variable, right? But we are assigning it a string, initializing it with a string value, and then returning the value. The only difference here is that when you're writing a string, you need to surround the value with quotes. True. Now, the other thing is you can use double quotes, single quotes. In this case, you can see I did it with single quotes, correct? But you notice it outputs it in double. They're used either or. Just don't use either or on either end. Don't use a single quote on one end and a double quote on the other. That won't work. You're gonna have a problem. And it just basically says here, you'll get an error if you don't properly quote this, or if you try to do silly things like just open quote there and not close it, or just close it and not open it. So got it. They don't work. You got to have a properly formulated string. Here, they're basically just showing how you can reassign the string or the variable to another variable. I mean, it's true. Right? We talked about this, that you could do many things. So you could just say let what is it, bad string equals string, right? And then now bad string, right, is equal to that. So there you go, a reassignment. All right, single versus double quotes. And you can, I said this earlier, right? You can use either or, not a problem. There is a difference though. Like I said, you can't use one at the front, one at the back, or vice versa. You got to use the same ones. If you use double quotes to open, you got to use double quote close. So that's important. The browser will think the string has not been closed. True. Now, one of these, this is a good one here, right? And this is also a reason why, we'll talk about that in a second, of the new string interpolation syntax that will help you deal with this as well. But so for example, the one thing that you might get hung on is like, how do you do, what if you're actually literally quoting something with inside the string? Well, you can run into problems with that if you, so let me do this real quick. I'm going to grab this string here and I'm going to place this here. Now this right now is completely fine because it's got a single quote wrapping the entire string, right? And then they're actually quoting fish supper, right? That's what they actually want to visually show on the screen as a quoted sentence or word or whatever, right? So right now that's fine, that works. And if you do single, double, right, like this, it comes out, you see it, it looks normal. It looks a little funky in here actually. That's kind of funny why I put these here. You don't have to, those are escape operators as well. It's a little weird that they did do that. It's kind of disappointing actually, because it typically what you would see, and it's just because they're representing the in here. But yeah, if you were doing this on the browser, you would just see, would you eat a fish, and then you'd see the open and close quote and then the quotation mark, and that's it. You wouldn't see these wrapped quotes around here. That's a little confusing there. I guess it would be better if you showed that in the browser maybe. We'll do that in a second. So that makes me wonder what it's going to do when it does this. So this is another issue too, where you got to be careful how you use the single double quotes, because they can escape each other and then cause an error like this, where let big mouth variable being declared as a string here has an open single quote, but then I've, the word, has a single quote, right, to do the proper English, whatever the grammatically correct. I don't know what they call that and whatever. Anyways, single quote. This causes a problem, because now this thinks this is the string and then it just escapes and that's it. And then the rest of this is not seen as that and it throws an error. So you just got to be careful. If you're going to do like this, or you have words that have that in it, then what you'd want to do is double quote around it, right? And then you're fine. Or you can use these escapes just like they're doing here with the backslashes. Or, let's see, do they talk about it? Hold on. Okay, they do talk about the... Let me just see, I don't want to jump ahead if they actually do talk about it. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Right. I'm just see how far down they get. Yeah. Yep. Okay, perfect. Okay, they do talk about template literals. That's good. What's that? we talked about single back quote in JavaScript for strings when we began. How do we use it? Oh yeah, yeah. This is what they're talking about down here. So they do get into template literals, which is using the back tick, right? And this allows you to do like string interpolation with variables instead of having to. And we'll get down to this, so I don't want to go too far. But right, you have an open like single quote right there, and then in order for you to actually inject like variables into the string, you had to escape the quote, do a plus, put the variable in there, say plus another quote to escape it back into its other back into a string, and then you open the quote up again. It's just a look. You can look down this thing. It's like just a nightmare of concatenation, right? Of doing this across. Whereas, and they're showing you here, but you could do it like this. And this is just so much easier. You don't have to worry about any of the escaping or anything like that. You just can literally put the two ticks, and then everything inside is all good to go. They're just actually literally quoting around this variable too. So they're injecting an actual variable using the special dollar syntax with the curly braces. That's how you can inject or whatever variable inside of the template literal. And they call that, what, string interpolation, I believe. And so, okay, they are going to get there and talk about that. That's what you were asking, right, HC? The backticks. The backticks, yo. Fun stuff. It's good things. Backtick, front tick. Strings. Fun. All right, where were we at? Concatenating strings. I think that's where we were, right? Yeah, we talked about big mouth. So you get a lot of people that are actually just using the backticks now, only, exclusively as their quotes. I don't know. I guess there's nothing wrong with that, right? Because you should be able to just say like, let hello. Something, right? And then, right. So even though I use just the backticks on that, right? It's still just a string. Sweet. So yeah, a lot of I've heard a lot of developers going to this straight backtick style of using, and they do it for just, even if they're just doing like this, where I'm just declaring a straight string, they're using it there anyway, just to not worry about it anymore. So, but basically, let's concatenate is a fancy programming word that means join together. I think we said that already. Join strings together in JavaScript uses the plus operator, right? Kind of makes sense. Add this to that, but not in a mathematical way, more in a join way. Right, that's what I just said. And the same is the numbers, except in different context, right? So we have two variables here, right? Let one equal hello and let two equal how are you? And then join together to join these, to concatenate these two strings together. You do 1 plus 2. Don't get confused with that being math. It's not. It's two strings, right? Because 1 is equal to what? A string called hello. 2 is how are you? They've used the comma here as you would in, and then this is a little trick that you do. They put a space in here right before the end quote, so that when you say hello and then how are you, and you put them together, that there is that little nice space in between. And here, let's just do this. Can you just do them all? Yeah, why not? Let's look at the outcome. Right? So you see it here. We have declared 1, hello, comma, with the space, 2, how are you? Joined, we create a new variable called join. We concatenate them together using the join operator, or the concatenator, we'll call it. And then we just return join so we can see what it is. And you can see here, you get a nice string, hello, comma, with a nice little space there. And then how are you? And that space is coming in there because they went ahead and gave it a space right there. That's just a way that you can format your strings pretty easily with spaces. So cool, we saw that works. That's how you, whatever. So in the last instance, we joined only 2 strings, but right, you could just add string upon string upon string. No big deal. You can also mix them with variables, and that's what they're talking about here. This is where this template literals, or the backticks, right, that we were talking about, becomes super helpful, because these things can start to get pretty nasty. They can get really long. They can get pretty confusing depending on how long this could be. This used to see a lot of this when you were like returning your own HTML block, like a table. Like you'd loop over, let's say, some data and you want to push it out into a table. I might be getting a little bit too deep here, but you declaring every cell and what you want it to be. So you had to do all this stuff to escape the quote and then put the variable name in there and then re-quote. It became this really monstrous, disgusting mess of, variables and strings and join operators. It just becomes very difficult and can really sometimes really get you pretty messed up. And then you got to go back and try to figure out, like what the heck happened here and why is this not working and that didn't escape right. And it's definitely can be a nuisance. Let's see. So let's have a look at concatenation being used in action. Oh, okay. Here an example from earlier. Right. This is the where it prompts you for your name. And in this case, they are. Oh, these glasses are pushing into my ear. They're kind of weird. So let's see. We have a button. We're declaring or defining a variable and giving it, the value of the button that exists on the page. So we're doing button on click is equal to a function. And so what happens is, right, the prompt is a built-in, we did this on the first one. So the prompt is a built-in method that brings up a prompt window with an input, so you can add your information, in this case your name, to it, and then it'll alert you back a greeting with the name that you entered into the input. They're using name, it's right here as the variable, right? So let's just show you. Hit press me, opens up, says what is your name, and then in here you just say whatever, Cody. You hit OK. Hello Cody, nice to meet you, or nice to see you, right? And then that's it, closes out. So hello, right? And it took what we entered. This is the variable. So it said hello Cody, nice to see you. That is how we are concatenating the string and the variable all together. But this, again, you can see if you had a bunch of these, this could start to get hairy as you add it up longer, more and more. This is just a simple example. So you could rewrite this same thing. Did I get into there yet? Guess not yet. I'll have to wait. So here we're using the prompt, the window.prompt function, which asks the user to I just said that, right? Ask whatever. That basically just describes exactly what I just said. So what happens when we try to add, right, a string and a number? Let's try it in our console. Well, we already know what this is going to do, right? We pretty much know what this is going to do, right? Let's just do it, though. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think this is going to just add this into the string, or do you think it's going to leave them as like a string with a number sitting on the end of it? What do you think? There it is. That's what it is. That's why that can be dangerous. No. If you do a string plus a number, it just takes that number and treats it like a string, and it concatenates it as a string, and then now you get back front 242 as one continuous single string, and that may not be exactly what you wanted. But so just showing you, keeping in mind. So you might expect this to return an error, but it won't, right? It just tries in trying to represent a string as a number doesn't really make sense, but representing a number as a string does. So the browser rather cleverly converts the number to a string and concatenates the two strings together. So you can even do this with two numbers. You can force a number to become a string by wrapping it in quotation marks. Try the following. We're using the type of operator, right? So yeah, this is just going to be, so they're just doing another little example here where they're taking, did I enter on this over here? Okay. And, right? 19 plus 67, they're both in quotes, right? It's going to be a string. It's a string. Now, if we had done, right, if I had, which we can redeclare. If I say let my date, oh, sorry, not let, sorry, it's already been declared. My date equal to 19. Now, what's going to happen here? You wouldn't do this, right? Because that's actually going to add them together, right? So if you just wanted the actual thing, you just declare it like that, and now it's 1967, the actual proper number. Because you don't want to add, otherwise it'll give you, it actually literally will add 19 plus 67. That would be no good. We don't want that. So if you have a numeric variable that you want to convert to a string but not change otherwise, or a string variable that you want to convert to a number but not change otherwise, you can use the following two constructs. The number object converts. We did this. We played with this earlier, right? This is a built-in mathematical or math method that will turn this into a number, right? So now, actually, we should be able to do it with this one. Oh, I changed it though. So let's do. We can put my date back to, because this is fully legal, right? 19 plus. Ooh, I'd be interesting to see how this works out because I'm not doing their example. I'm kind of curious. Let's see. So that's back to that string, right? So now if I said let my, God, man, I cannot type tonight. Num equals number, like this, right? And then we pass that my date into it. Right, and then I say type of my number, right? Boom! So we took my date, I turned it back into a string of 1967. Then I created a new variable called mynum, and then I'm using that JavaScript number method, right? And I'm going to say, no, that my date is not a string, it's a number. You're going to be a number, I don't care what you say. We ran the type of test against mynum to see what it actually is, what type it is, and now you can see by running it through that, we have a number. All right, good to know. That's what we need to know. There's also the other way around, right? So in this case, I can take the same thing I just had. They're doing it with a different example, but you could switch this back. So now I should be able to say, let's see, I'm going to say, let my string equal, what did I say? Was it my num, right? So I take my num, and now this is a little bit different because the other one, the number method, you actually put that first, and then you pass in the string into it. In this case, you're actually chaining it instead of calling it that way. So that's kind of interesting. So in this case, to get it to a string, you take the number and you say use the toString. Oh, not two. The toString method, like this. You don't pass anything into it. And now, if you say type of my string, right? It's a string. So just a nice, easy way to turn numbers into strings, strings into numbers, vice versa, whatever you want to do. With a little help from your friends is it over JavaScript. Thanks, ECMA. You know why it's called ECMAScript? Because the inventor of JavaScript, his name is Brendan Eck. Come in, right? Oh, Brendan Eck. I gotta look it up now. No, I'm gonna look. But that was like the name of the when he was. Isn't it like? It's like. I don't know how you spell his last name. I forget. Let's just do this. Creator. My fingers are not hitting the keyboard right. It's so weird. Every time I'm on stream, I can't type. Like, I'm not a great typer anyway, but I type so much quicker and better at work for some reason. Yeah, it's EIC. I thought that's what it was. Brendan Eck created the JavaScript language. Built it in like 14 days. It was probably one of the fastest created languages in the world, I would think. He called it like ECMA or something like that in as his pet project name for it or whatever, and then it like stuck. But it kind of comes from his name, Brendan Eckman. He actually is the creator and whatever behind the Brave browser now, which is pretty decent. I think he still works. I think he works at Mozilla, doesn't he now? I co-founded Mozilla Project, the Mozilla Foundation, and the Mozilla Corporation, and served as the Mozilla Chief Technical Officer and briefly as the Chief Executive Officer. Now he is the CEO of Brave Software. So that's what I thought. He ran Mozilla, and again, that's why MDN, the Mozilla Developer Network, is kind of the quote-unquote de facto documentation source for JavaScript, and that's because he is the one that he's the Mozilla guy. Moving on to other things, though. Moving on to a whole new thing. Brave. He decided to come up with a whole new, mindset behind browsers. I guess it is not a whole new thing. It's based on Chromium and stuff, but he's got some other fancy stuff in there that he's using, built-in ad blockers, and it's got the Brave browser has oh, my mind is it's got a Tor. You can open up a Tor tab inside of the Brave browser. If you don't know what Tor is, go take a look somewhere in a dark corner on a disconnected laptop. No, just kidding. Tor was actually invented by the United States Navy's research development arm, and they are the ones that came up with Tor, and it and gave it away free to the world. And now they're mad that people use it. No. Don't want you hiding. If you're going to go on the dark web, highly recommend you use a Tor browser. Otherwise, you will. Yeah. I've never actually done that myself, funny enough. I also got Brave rewards. I know, right? I haven't really messed with that at all, but I did. I do know they have it. I don't forget what it does, right? You can earn points, and then I'm not sure what the reward, what rewards you get in the sense of what you're able to go do with it. You buy stuff, like I'm assuming something like that. But welcome anyway. I don't think I've ever seen you in here. You earn money. Ooh, I like money, especially when I just give it to me for free. Is that Lamp? Thank you so much for the follow. That appreciate it. Am I seeing that right? Is it Lamp? My eyes are like, these aren't even real glass. These are just blue like brackers. But I earned something like $10 in 2 months. Really? Hey, Still free money, right? $10. That's not too bad. Not for just browsing around. I might have to check that out some more. Yeah, I can't use those at work either. That's the only problem. So I'd have to strictly just use it on when I'm doing like streaming or just casual browsing, as they say. Did you find the stream? Or is that supposed to be, how did you find the stream, bro? I'm not sure what. Tell us, Rogelio. Did you find the stream? Anyway, well, thanks for stopping in. I appreciate you hanging out. We're doing some basic JavaScript here. We're about to get onto template literals. Really like those. That's when that came out. Boy, I was super happy. How did you find the stream, right? Welcome. Thanks, Rogelio. Rogelio's a regular, Lamp. He hangs out. We chill. You know, I'm just starting. I'm only been streaming for a few weeks. So just kind of easing into it. We're feeling it out. So right now we're just doing some basic JavaScript. Yeah, I needed something to talk about. No, we did a little bit of like building a web page with Gatsby. Still haven't finished that. Kind of went off on a separate tangent of let's do some basic learning stuff. I thought it seemed like there was more of a need kind of for that in some sense, to be honest with you. And then I kind of wanted to make sure that I was staying up on the latest and greatest that's coming out too, because at work I do a lot of DevOps stuff, Lamp. So I don't get all the opportunity to do all the fun stuff that I'd like. But anyway. Did that little dude in the corner, I like to call him Cody, when that follow went off, did anybody notice? Did he actually respond with like thanks for the follow or something? Because I cannot, for some reason, it's super laggy or not working right, that thing. So I'll have to figure out what's going on with that. But anyway. All right, another type of string syntax that you may come across is template literals. Sometimes referred to as template strings, right? This is a newer syntax that provides more flexibility, easier to read strings. I'm all about easier and flexible, right? To turn a standard string literal into template literal, you have to replace the quote marks with backtick characters, right? So just like I showed you earlier. Let me clear this out right here real quick. So bam, right? Instead of doing would be turned into, that's funny that they did that. Okay, so yeah, so it's just instead of the quotes, you can use the backticks, and it's completely legal. Let's put it in here, right? Let's check it out. This is what they're saying, like you can just do this instead. So if I go here and here, replace those with those backticks and still hit it, no problem. And if we do our little type of, right, on song to test it, what is it? String. Bam! Good to go. That's what we needed to know, right? So again, a lot of JavaScript developers are going to the straight backticks on all strings. They don't, that's what they're using now. And I can see why. It's very beneficial. You don't have to sit there and try to think about how to escape out things like they're about to show right here in this nightmare string, where they are declaring a score variable equal to 9 and a high score equal to 10, and then they're injecting those, right? Or in this case, they're concatenating them together, right? So you have to do this thing, right? You have to like open the quote, I like the song, escape the quote by using the opposite type quote, then use the single quote again, and then you say plus song plus this other quote, because now you're escaping back into the, it's just on and on. It becomes completely disgusting and very confusing. Sweet. All right, well that's cool. At least it worked somewhat. Did it do it pretty quickly? I didn't notice it. It was on my left side. I didn't really pick up on it. But oh, that's not an L either, is it? That's an I. I am petty. Ah, okay. That's awesome. I totally was reading that wrong. If I look at your name in chat, it looks like an L. So I looked at it and it looked like it said lamped or lamped, you know? I am petty. Interesting. That's funny. That's funny. Again, thanks for the follow. Super appreciative. Anybody that wants to listen to me be stupid online is all good. I'm all for joining. I am petty. Maybe you don't know this, but I like to give stickers away too. If you're brave enough and you trust me, you may not yet, but I'll tell you. You can go on Twitter and check. There's some people up there I got stickers. I'm making some new ones. If you want a CodeHustle sticker, show your hustle for code, we'll get you one. I'm gonna make some new ones. I'm making some JavaScript ones. So I want to make some cool JavaScript ones. CodeHustle, but I usually send some along as well. Now I got some Gatsby ones. Anybody want some Gatsby stickers? We got some Gatsby stickers. Got a bunch of Unix ones. If you're into Unix or Python or anything like that, I got a whole plethora. You want to do Go? You like the Go Gopher? Hey, what's let me know. Whisper me. Hit me up on Twitter, JD_Hirsch. It's on the look, little mini ones like this with the Python and Git and what? I've sent some out to a few folks. I think Rogelio, right? Didn't I send you some? There was a slight delay. I see. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So yeah, I am petty. If you're down, hit me up. I'll send you some stickers out, or anybody else in the chat. All right. So disgusting strings. We don't want this. Yeah. I know. I think you asked me for some more, didn't you? when I print the new ones, because I'm gonna get some new ones. I want to do some JavaScript ones, like the square block typical JavaScript ones, but I'm gonna add a little CodeHustle flavor on there and some other little. I want to make them a little more diverse. I'm gonna add some inclusivity. No, is that the way you say that? Inclusive. I'm gonna make them awesome. There you go. No, I'm just anyway. I plan on printing up some more like that, and so as soon as I do, I'll send you out some more. Cool. This way you get something new instead of the same old stuff. And then I got to get some other ones too. I plan on getting another batch of like I get a bunch of Unix stickers that has a bunch of different varieties. It usually comes with like Python and Go and Docker and Ruby on Rails and all those stickers. So when I get those into, I'll put together another little pack for you and send it out. I need to start doing little contests. Copper Beardy, a live streamer as well, live coders team. In fact, I remember when he first started, he joined just to get away from anxiety. Really, he came on and that was his way to escape. Started out just like me, one follower, 2 followers, whatever, a couple people in stream. I don't care. I'm appreciative of every single one. But yeah, it's just like me, started out, and then now I just watched him today for the first time in quite a bit of time. I keep up with him on Twitter. We chit chat here and there, but on Twitch I haven't had a chance to peek at him. And man, he is doing some good stuff. He's got games going. He's got all kinds of new stickers. He's doing giveaways and contests. It's fun. He's really getting into it. He's still heavy duty mental health advocate, and it's really helping him. It's helping me. That's why I come on now. It's really helping me kind of get over some anxiety stuff as well. And so even though you may not think so, I seem like I'm pretty outgoing and all that, and I am, but I still before I get on, I always get this like nervousness, and I'm like, but I gotta push through and say, come on, just go do it, it's gonna be fine. And then I push myself, and then once I'm on, I'm like, I'm good, I'm fine. Hey, what's up, you know? The Namel's Waffle! What's up? Hola, ¿cómo estás? I don't really speak much Spanish, poquito. So, but good, doing good. Just trying to get through we're doing some basic JavaScript stuff right here, like learning. So we are talking about template literals right now, and how cool they are, because you used to have to write these really nasty, long, concatenated strings with variables in it. Oh, you know, nobody wants that. And then, so we are talking about how you can use template literals to make this much better, much cleaner. I would say it's a little bit of both. So I work professionally as a developer, mainly more DevOps as of lately. So a lot more back-end tool type stuff, configuration files, YAML, a lot of YAML. But traditional or whatever, historically, I guess if you want to say, I'm a developer, and so I'm using this to not only try to provide some value. Hopefully, I can give some relatable stories or things I've run into over the years, and but I'm also using it as a way for me to pick up on some stuff, because the language is constantly changing. They're doing releases every year, and in order for me to kind of stay up with it, I thought this would be a good way to not only educate myself on keeping up with the new implementations and stuff to the spec, but also give back, because a lot of this stuff has not changed that much. Plenty has, but there's still a lot of the core that's still whatever, and hopefully I can provide some value there. So that's kind of the idea. It's kind of the idea. So, but yeah, working over 20 years in IT, I guess if you want to say. I started out as a system administrator for in El Paso, Texas, actually, and yeah, did system administration work, and this is back in 2003 time frame, and then but then actually was doing web work on the side as just like fun freelance type stuff, and I applied for a job back then what was called a webmaster, master of the domain of webs. But yeah, that's what they called it. Thank you so much for the follow. Totally appreciate it. Let's see if this little dude does anything. This is Enamels. I've been trying to see if this little... Can I just call you Waffle? That sounds so cool. I love waffles. They're delicious. Anyway, but this little guy in the corner here, the Capamon or whatever, Capamon they call it, he's supposed to say things and do things, and he's just not acting right. So we're gonna have to see about him later on. Or her, or whatever. It's non-gender specific, that our Cody guy, Cody person. Haha, caught myself. Cool. So, meant to avoid confusion, you're... the name is Waffle. The name is Waffle. Waffle. Perfect. I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to be mean. Not try to offend anybody. Apologies. Literally meant to. Well, no offense. Gotcha. So then I did it right? You're saying the name is Waffle, right? You want to be called Waffle? I mean, I'll call you whatever you want. I don't want to offend anybody. No. I just want to make sure I understand. Okay, cool. Cool. Waffle's good. Sweet. No problem. Yeah, I try to be as, whatever is possible. I don't like to say, hey, dude, guy, hey, man, because I don't know who's on the other end here. I don't want to call you things you don't want to be called. So, you let me know what you want, and I'll be happy to oblige. You know, I'm not here to cause any issues or problems. Just here to have fun, learn, meet some new people, share. You know, hang out, all that good stuff. Right, right. I agree, Waffle. That, you know, we don't want to get too crazy serious, right? And then everything becomes serious. Gotta laugh about some things in life, right? So, all right. So where were we at? We were at template literals, um, and again they stress right here, right? Template literals simplify this enormously. This is so true. This was such a great thing when this came out here. So there's no more need to open and close multiple string pieces. The whole lot can just be wrapped in a single pair of backticks. Again, a lot of developers have gone to just the straight backticks for their strings, whether they're using the interpolation of it or not. They are using the backtick. It's just becoming an easier way to write your code. You don't have to think about it anymore. Oh, should I use quotes or backticks or whatever? You just backtick it. But whatever you're comfortable with, it's all up to you. You know, that's the beauty of it. You get to use whatever you want. You code it how you want to. So you can include complex expressions inside template literals. So inside of these, you know, the special syntax here with the curly braces and the $sign is how you know, escape the string basically and say, I'm going to start talking some JavaScript here. You can do mathematical equations in here, right? So they're taking the exam score, dividing it by the exam's highest score, and now this will become a value saying you scored and show you the value there. So some cool stuff. They're showing even further down the line here of like how you can get a little more complex with it. Again, I'm not a math person, so I'm not going to go into explaining all this crazy mathematical magic here, but just know that you have the capability now to inject these variables and also do calculations as well with inside of the string literal, template literal, sorry. Cool. All right. Let's move along here. What are we doing now? I don't know. Another point. Oh, nobody wants it. Okay, so basically here they're just talking about that, you know, if you wanted to make sure that this was on multiple lines, you can use the \n to, well, let's go ahead and let's get a visual of this one. Why does that say that? Score. Oh, I don't have any of the other ones. I thought I had those defined already. I never did these. So now I'm just making shit up. That's not right. I should have done it with this one like this. And then this would have been a little bit better of a... We want to see this? Do we want to see this? I don't know. What I wanted you to see is what it does is, look, it prints out this really nice now string, and it's a lot easier again to write. You don't have to worry about the escaping and causing issues, because again, when you start to do the when you start to escape the quotes and stuff inside of a string in the old school way, it becomes very, very confusing. And as you start to do more complex things like they're doing down here with this math, it really gets out of hand. So just know that you now have this great template literal syntax, which is 2 backticks that'll allow you to add in variables and other JavaScript into your strings. That's, I think, what's the big takeaway and most important here. So you can do some fun stuff with it. So let's see, what are we going on to? What do we got next? What are they hooking us up with? We talked variables, we talked math, methods and operators that exist, and we talked strings, right? A little bit. And now we're talking about, just like there's methods for math that are built into JavaScript, right? There are methods that exist for strings. And we actually used one earlier, right? The toString method was what we used to take a number, right, and turn that into a string. So you already used one, actually, or we already used one. So now that we've looked at the very basics of strings, let's move up a gear and start thinking about the useful operations we can do on strings with built-in methods such as finding the length of a string, joining, splitting strings, substituting one character in a string for another, and more. And more. Oh my gosh. This is amazing. So most things are objects in JavaScript. That is true. When you create a string, for example, by using letString equal this is my string, your variable becomes a string object instance. And as a result, a large number of properties and methods available to it. You can see this if you go to the string object page and look down the list on the side of the page. Well, that just sounds... Let's open that up in another tab. Let's see what they're showing us here. What did they say? I thought they said down the right side of the page. Oh, maybe because I'm in. I like this. They keep referencing before your brain starts melting. But, well, I wonder if you could do it this way and say, you can see if you can go to the string object page and look down the list on the side of the page. I'm missing where they're showing that. What are they talking about? Is it because this is... Oh, here we go. Because it wasn't expanded out enough to see it. So here they're showing the object method types here. Like, right. There's look, here's the one we used. ToString. Don't worry about this object.prototype thing. Just know ToString. That's what we used, right? It's an object. I think that's what they were trying to get us to see, is that they're all objects. All these methods are... So, before your brain starts to melt, as they say, you really don't need to know about most of these early on in your learning journey, but there are a few that you'll potentially quite often use, and that was one of them. The ToString method is pretty popular. So the easiest, you simply use the length. This is another good one when you want to count how many characters are in your string, right? So we have the word Mozilla here. And now if you enter that, and then we do browser type dot length, and now this is a pretty simple one. You just do that, right? And it's 7. Now, let's test this, right? So if you do browser type, let's re-declare this, and I'm going to still call it Mozilla, right? Or let's do it, yeah. Requesting permission to sign off now. Family calls. Absolutely, man. Thank you very much. It's a big privilege to follow you and your streams. Please keep them on. Well, HC, thanks, man. Really appreciate that. You know, you kind of always wonder whether or not you're doing any good. So I really do appreciate you saying that. I'm trying. That's all I can do, right? That's all I can do is do my best. So what I was going to see here is if you do the browser type and redeclare it like with a space in there, right? Does this count the length, right? Does it count that space as part of... So now if I say brow, or actually you can do this, right? I can do up. So now you see what? Cool, that's what I want to know. Does a space count in the length? And it does. So just know that as well, that if you're counting characters in a string, that those spaces count as well. Yeah, so you have a great night or day, or I don't even know, right? Yeah. Great. Have a great morning, evening, and good night. That Jim Carrey movie, right? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever he used to say. So cool. So spaces they do count in the length property. That's important because you may be trying to count something and not taking into account that there's spaces in there and going, wait, that doesn't add up. Now you know why. So that's important. All right, on a related note, you can return any character inside a string by using the square bracket notation. This is to retrieve a specific character out of the string, right? So in this case, if we go ahead and use our browser type again, right? And let's say we want, so as we talked about, like this is referencing an array, right? That's what the square brackets are representations of, an array. And so the string there, an array start at 0, not at 1. So when you're counting arrays, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on. Not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It starts at 0. Almost most programming languages are 0-based arrays. So in here, if I was to say 0, what are we going to get? The first letter in the string there, which is M for our Mozilla, right? If we wanted to get the third one, we'd actually say 2 because 0, 1, 2 is actually the third character, right? So we get Z. And there you go. So now you can see where the length is giving us back, or I mean, sorry, the square bracket notation allows us to pull out that specific character in its position that it's held in. I'm curious, can you do this? I didn't think so. I didn't think so. Okay, just testing that out. All right, cool. So moving on. We said this already, right? Computers count 0 to 1, not 1 and on. So now this is an interesting one, right? They're showing here that you can retrieve the last character of any string. We could use the following line, combining this technique with length property we looked at. So this is showing you how you could get the last character of any string it says. So let's try it out, right? If I was to say browser type, and we're also now referencing the browser type here, saying dot length, and this is doing -1 at the end. Let's see what we get here. Ooh, that's interesting, right? Well, we get the blank because the last position in our string is a blank. If we look up at browser type, right, or if we just output browser type here, we see that we have a space at the end, and that's why we're getting that back in that previous. Very cool. All right, so just note that you are grabbing different strings or grabbing different characters out of the string, and that you have the capability to do that using the length and also the square bracket notation that's available for manipulating strings. Cool. So finding a substring inside a string and extracting it. This is really good stuff. This is things that you will use quite often in JavaScript. It's definitely not. Oh, Rogelio, see ya. Oh no, you're writing to him. Sorry, my bad. So sometimes you'll want to find if a smaller string is present inside a larger one. We generally say it's a substring is present inside a string. This can be done using the index of method, which takes a single parameter, the substring you want to search for. Okay, so this is like looking for a word inside of your string, which could be a paragraph size, you know. So if the substring is found inside the main string, it returns a number representing the index position of the substring, which character number of the main string the substring starts at. And if the substring is not found inside the main string, it returns a value of -1. So try this. It's saying, let's try that. Let's see what it says. Browser type index of Zilla. Now this should be interesting because I kind of messed this up. Or I messed with browser type. See, it's saying 2, right? This gives us a result of 2. Yeah. Because that is where the Z starts, right? M-O-Z. So M is 0, O is 1, Z is 2, right? So that's how it's getting back that 2, because substring Zilla starts at position 2. That's what I just said, right? So such code could be used to filter strings. For example, you may have a list of web addresses and only want to bring out the ones that contain Mozilla. That would be an interesting one. This can be done in another way, which possibly even more effective. Try the following. So you can say browser type. What does this one do? This should give you a result of 1. This is return when substring in this is not found in the main string. Yeah, right, because vanilla does not exist inside of our string called browser type, or in our variable called browser type. So if you get a -1, as it's indicating here, means that that substring does not exist inside of that string. Cannot find vanilla inside of Mozilla, even though it's got illa, but it's not a full. It's not the full string, not the one you're looking for. So just remember that, -1, right? It doesn't exist. Otherwise, it'll give you back the position. So you could use this to find all instances of strings and don't contain the substring Mozilla, or do. If you use a negation operator, as shown below, you could do something like this. So saying if the browser type's index of Mozilla is not equal to -1, index of Mozilla is not equal to -1, meaning that it did find it. Because if it's equal to -1, right, that means it didn't find it, right? That's what we found up here, right? So if that is not equal to, means it exists, and then you can do stuff with it. So when you know where a substring starts inside a string, then you can use the slice method, can be used to extract it. So let's see here. So this time they are actually starting at position 0 and ending at position 3 in this slice. And you think about it, just slicing it out and just ripping it out of there. Just slice it right out of that string. So this returns Moz, right? Let's see here. Right, yeah. I mean, we can show this if you want. Here, let's see. So you do this. And there you go. You get Moz, because it's browser type is equal to Mozilla. 0, 1, 2, 3. Pull out. Nice. All right, so that works just as we expected it to. So it says if you know that you want the to extract the remaining characters in a string after a certain character, you don't have to include the second parameter. Instead, you can just use that. Okay, cool. So let's see what happens if you just take this and then go 2. So now you get Zilla. M0, 1, start at 2, Zilla, right? This is almost gave the middle finger right there. Sorry. And that's because the position, right, starts at 2 and then it moves on. So cool. Right. Slice operator or slice method. That works nice. Slice it out. Pull out the string you want. Where are we at? Changing case, updating parts. So this is cool. This is pretty handy. You probably use this quite a bit. So this is also kind of a nice way to guarantee that the values come in the way that you'd like, right? So if you're asking for input from somebody, or even if you want something to display a certain way, but you don't want to, literally declare it that way, you can use these methods. Again, I think this is quite helpful when you are expecting a certain thing from the user or from the client, which would be the browser, right? Like you're putting something into a form or input and you want it to be either all lowercase or you want it to be uppercase. That would be a way you can use these two methods here to, let's go ahead and do it here so we can take a little peek at what the output looks like, right? Get rid of that. So if we paste this in here, we're declaring rad data as a variable, right? And it's got my name, it's got a bunch of just like uppercase, lowercase letters in this value here. And they're doing that so that then we can take this and leverage our string methods here, which in this case, if we take the variable that we declared rad data and chain it to the to lowercase method, then you see that the entire string then now becomes lowercase. So just easy way to do string manipulation. You could also do the to upper case, and now the whole thing is uppercase, right? Great, just ways to mess with strings. Make them uppercase, make them lowercase. Bend it at will. You can replace one substring inside a string with another substring using the replace method. This works very simple, or simply as a basic level. This works very simply at a basic level. Although there are some advanced things you can do with it that we won't get into. Yeah, we don't need to get crazy. It takes two parameters: the string you want to replace, and then the string you want to replace it with. So in this case, right, they're showing us that they're going to take what we, Mozilla is what, sorry. Mozilla is what the browser type is set to right now, right? And so we're saying take the first find MOZ inside of Mozilla, and then replace that with this string van. And so if we do that, you see here, it did exactly that. It took out the first three characters, which was MOZ, and it replaced it with van, and now you have vanilla. So you could do this with any of it. It doesn't matter. That doesn't have to make sense. You could say find, Illa, and replace that with van. So now it's Moz van, right? So it's just a find and replace. Pretty helpful. Nice little. You get a lot of bang for your buck on that little method right there, right? It's going to search the entire string and then replace where it finds it. So here would be a question, right? What if do they even talk about that? Sometimes I go too far and then I go ahead. That's like a little exercise, but I'm gonna just talk this really quick here. So I'm curious that if you do, let's say browser type, right? Let's equal that to well, yeah, let's do it this way. So if you do Mozilla like that, right? And then if I was to do, oh no, it's not there anymore. Okay, so if I do browser type now dot replace, my curiosity was, will it iterate across this and replace every MOZ in here, or just the first found one? And it looks like it just does the first one. So I was just curious to see if you had a string that had multiple references to, say, Mozilla, that string or that word, if you do this, will it find every piece or every existence of that and replace it? And it doesn't. It looks like it only does it on the first find. Interesting. Now, well, I'm not going to worry about that. Okay. Active learning examples. Cool. So let's just look at this really quick. I'm going to have to making these old parts. Trying to see. Okay. I may save this one for the next I actually have run. Yeah, I'm gonna have to wait. That's a little too long to get through right now in the next. So, all right, I'm gonna end right there at the active learning examples. So, cool. All right, well, we got pretty far. We did about, I don't even know. What does it say? Do they have the time on there still? I always forget where they put that. Yeah, 2 hours and 33 minutes. That's pretty good. That's a decent Thursday night for me, you know, after you spend all day doing stuff. So, cool. All right, so we're getting into it. We got the strings. We're learning string methods. We learned a little bit more about the mathematical operators and methods that exist. We learned about string or template strings or template literals. Sorry, using the backticks syntax, which is really helpful and allows for us to do JavaScript inline, which strings. It's really great. And all right, I think that's gonna call it for now. I appreciate everybody hanging out and chilling for the last couple hours, and we'll be back on. Ooh, maybe not. Oh, I just thought about that. We'll see. Sunday is typically my my next stream day, but my grandfather's funeral is actually on this Sunday, so depending on how late that goes, I guess we'll see. Have to adjust fire. Other than that, appreciate everybody hanging out. I hope you have a great evening, morning, afternoon, and as always, keep up that code hustle. Thanks, Rogelio. I appreciate you jumping in there and saying welcome to everybody and everything else. I have to when we get crazy popular, right? I got to turn you into make you a moderator. So, but all right, cool. Anyway, all right, have a great night. And again, thanks for hanging out, Rogelio. Thanks for hanging out, and thanks for the follows. Waffle, the name is Waffle. I am Petty. Thanks for the follow. It's much appreciated. And again, till next time, keep up the code hustle. We'll talk soon. Peace.